I've been into cryptos from 2012, and I'm equally bullish that the metaverse will be the future. So I'm personally very excited to host Piyush Gupta on today's show. He's the CEO of Vosmos. A very warm welcome to the show, Piyush.
Hey, thank you so much. I've listened to some of your podcasts and it's very interesting. So I'm very excited about having a conversation with you.
Thanks, Piyush. Let's just start from the name itself. Cosmos, I believe, is essentially virtual cosmos. And it's also promoted by CL Educate, which is the parent company of Career Launcher. So let's go back in time. How did it all begin?
Yes, you're right. I'm glad. So the moment people are able to say Vosmos means virtual cosmos, half of the battle is won for me, honestly. So thank you for that. As an organization, we've been in existence for a very long time now, right? Where does this whole tech journey started? Look at it this way. It works on culture, people, and adversity. As an organization, we've been continuously evolving. How do you take the next step from here on? So that's something which we've been doing. And as a culture in the organization, it's always about we are here. What all do we start looking from? And then when this whole pandemic happened, it kind of pushed us to some extent saying that, okay, things are getting halted. I remember January 2020, people are saying things will get stopped. And one portion of our business was a lot of physical experiential marketing and all, right? Involved a lot of physical stuff. And when that whole adversity happened, one way to look at was, okay, well, let's hold on to what we're doing and hopefully things will become better. Right? What happened was rather than doing that, we turned it around and said, it's an opportunity. The world will move towards digital transformation in a faster way. Can we hop onto that journey before anyone else does? And that's where this whole tech journey of ours started. CL has been involved in it from a parent organization, but it is runs as an independent unit. And 3 years, as we say, has been phenomenal in the space of the whole meta commerce is what we say. The world talks about it as metaverse. So that's what it is.
So essentially, meta commerce and metaverse are the same, or the two different things?
From a concept point of view, it is the same. People have defined it differently. For us, we believe that for anything to sustain, commerce has to happen. It has to have a commercial angle to it. Gamification won't sustain for long. And that is why we position ourselves as a meta commerce organization, where we say if a brand wants to hop onto this journey, then we are going to help them achieve one of their objectives. Either it is establishing a brand, generating leads, or getting sales done. It's either of the three, one of them, which a brand kind of jumps in and works with us. It's not gamification. If anyone comes and joins us and says that, hey, we just want it for a gamified version of it, then we say, do it for a short version, get out of it. Don't look at ROI because that's not what you're going to get, right? Whereas if you look at Metaverse, it's a lot of conversation is happening on gamification, connections, and all that. That's where for us, the meta commerce and the metaverse differs because there is a perception built on metaverse. We don't have the strength or whereabouts to break that perception. So we coined it in a different way.
Interesting. I'll give you my experience with the metaverse. I had created an avatar on Spatial. I was in Dubai till 2017, but through Spatial with my avatar, I managed to visit the Dubai Museum, which did not inaugurate till after I had left. Quite frankly speaking, I was amazed. You could actually roam around the entire thing. You could talk to random people. So personally, in my mind, I have no doubt that this is the future. But where do you see the future actually going?
So is this the future? Yes, absolutely. But how far is that future? I can't visualize it yet, right? Yes, there is the avatar-driven connections that are taking shape, if I can put it that way. Like I said, if it is not a commercial piece of it, then it's not going to work. That's one. If it is not acceptable by the masses, it's not going to work, right? Cannot be built from a point of view that, okay, only a certain set of individuals who has a certain kind of infra can consume content. Then it doesn't work. So what I am very sure is we will get someday there where you can have an avatar, and when I say you, a larger set of population can have their avatar online, interact, shop, connect with the world globally. It's about the world will shrink more When hundreds of years back, when there was no transport, then the world was limited to where you kind of lived. Then the moment the transport piece came in, then you can take a 16-hour flight, land up in San Francisco. That's how far the world is. Like you're saying, what Metaverse in the future would do is even shorten this, because then you don't need to take a flight and go. You can connect with people in an immersive manner, build emotions, relationships. I'm saying relationships from a point of view of knowing each other without having to travel. So we'll get there. Not now. I think there are steps that are required for one to take the world from a 2D space to a immersive space before it goes through a complete avatar-driven space. So that's how I see it.
So personally, do you think that Facebook transformed too early?
I think they started off right, but I think it's not just Facebook, right? It look at most of the people who were talking about metaverse and now have pulled the dollars back is because they didn't put the customer at the heart of it. Their whole thing was, this is the tech and this is what the tech can do. So let's spend billions of dollars there and then the world will move. It doesn't work like that. And I think that's where things went wrong, if I can put it that way, for some of those, for most of them actually, who've kind of approached metaverse from the other end of it, that this is what the final metaverse would be, and let's start from here. So yeah, that's how I'll put it across. What Facebook did was, and that's a good part of it, is it created a buzz. Even when a brand like Facebook renames it to a metaverse, so suddenly everyone starts thinking that this is the future. So what pandemic did for some bit of digital transformation, Facebook did for metaverse. So people started noticing, learning about it. So there is that ecosystem that got built because of that.
So you're also into virtual events. During the COVID times, we were the primary sponsor for one of the Franchise India's virtual events. And it was indeed quite remarkable. There, however, seemed to have been a little bit of limited footfall, which was actually contrary to the expectation that, yes, it's online, so virtually everyone will come in. The target audience would have been around 40 plus. So I think that is probably one of the reasons that they had a little bit of hindrance in doing completely virtual. So how do you handle these kind of intricacies, and especially for the kind of markets where you want to attract the older demographic?
Yeah, interesting. So we've not had this challenge. I have to be honest about it. So we've done thousands of events on our virtual event platform, and we do a lot of B2B. So in a lot of B2B, the demographic is not just 40, 45 plus, but they are older. CTOs, CIOs, CEOs of large organizations and all. So they're in that age for sure. I think, again, it's about how you build the whole technology becomes important. And because we've been doing experiential marketing for a long time, we knew what would entail from a customer point of view. Who's our customer? And that's been a core. I can keep telling you about it, but our core has been who's going to use the product, right? And then how will they use it? So for us, we kept that in mind and said, okay, if someone has to come and spend time online, it needs to look beautiful. So we took care of that. It needs to be absolutely simple to use. You should not be struggling about where do I go, how do I use it. That's where the AI bot came in, the intelligence came in. I should be able to interact, because if I'm being part of an experiential event, one thing I go on is for networking. I should be able to network with people whom I interact with, right? And we have a bot called Versa. She profiles you and then tells you whom to interact with. So you know that as soon as I land, I get a list of people that, okay, these are the guys who kind of fit in, whom you should be talking to. That suddenly kind of opens up that, because I then start having a conversation. The moment I start having a conversation, it starts becoming easier. And like I said, it was just super easy to use it. So when we had launched it and we started showing it to people across the globe, the number of aha moments we had for our platform was just amazing, because people had not seen something like that. And when they started using it, they realized, okay, I don't need to be tech savvy to use it. I can use it on my phone without too much of a stress. So that's how the journey for virtual event has been. And honestly, because you mentioned the complications of it, we've seen virtual event platforms globally. We've done a lot of research on it. And I agree with you that a lot of it is built in a way that it's very difficult to use. it just becomes challenging. Either you need a high internet bandwidth, you need better device. It's just not easy to kind of maneuver around. All that happens, right? We've had what? We've had about 1 million people consume content on our
Wow.
platform. And
Yeah.
I have a journey map from a heat map point of view for all of them. And the next version of product that is coming out is also basis that we now know that how a 50-year-old guy behaves on the platform, where he or she is spending time or prefer to spend time. How long should be the video content? Who's going to spend more time with an exhibitor or a sponsor? Who's going to spend time in gamification part of it? So we kind of have that data, and what we're launching now is the whole DIY version of it, which is a powerful concept overall. You can just go online, buy it, and use it. Fairly simple. We've seen people being very happy with the way. In fact, we've got places where not just the brand, the end customer has come back and said the previous platform was better than the one which you, if they kind of experimented with something else, but that was easy to navigate. And the kind of data that the brand got was phenomenal. I can tell you after the event that you should call this guy and talk about cybersecurity and not cloud.
Absolutely. So just out of curiosity, does gamification work for the 40 plus demographic?
Not much. They are more focused on the core content whom they are networking with. They don't attend full sessions. They will attend selective sessions which meets their need. That's kind of how it works.
Mm-hmm.
For example, data says that the doctors consume content on a phone and not on a laptop. The kind of content that they'll go through is very limited. They're not going to go and start playing games. So there are certain data point which is there, but gamification, that age, not much.
Exactly. We are too old by then.
I would not say too old, but the focus is very different. That I'm here for a purpose. That's it. I think someday we'll crack that also. That how do we kind of make for 50 plus, 40 is not old these days, right?
I'm glad to hear that.
Yeah, absolutely. Right. How do we kind of get them to have a little fun? It's not about gamification or not, but can you have a little fun? I think that's another aspect we try achieving. Can we kind of create a little excitement when you are there on the platform?
So, what according to you is the most common myth when it comes about the metaverse or metacommerce, whichever way you want to put it?
Oh, Metacommerce doesn't have a myth because we're still building the story. So thankfully, it starts with when people ask Metacommerce, I'll start with saying, okay, you are in a 2D world right now. I'm just taking you from a 2D world to a 3D world. That's where the myth of Metaverse is. There are a lot of people, when we speak, they think that Metaverse is replacing the real world. It's about what you do in the real world, physical, you start doing in the Metaverse. Another aspect is Metaverse is about VR and crypto and all of that stuff. I think Metaverse is a concept. It's a concept of an immersive world which is parallel. And I think the faster we understand it, everyone from a tech space who's building product, it'll be better. Because what we believe is Metaverse or a Metacommerce, so to say, is not replacing what you're doing physically. It's basically enhancing your online world. All of us spend a lot of time online, right? We
Right.
play, we shop, we interact, we study, we work. Metacommerce from our end is focused on how do we make that piece better? That piece more immersive, more beautiful, more engaging, more impactful. It's not replacing. If I am going to meet you physically, I would always want to meet you. I'm not going to change that aspect of it. But for example, right now we are talking virtual events, take webinars, Zoom. How do we make that better? Can I make that immersive? I'm going to anyways talk to you online, but can I make that immersive so that my online journey becomes more intelligent, more beautiful, more immersive?
Very interesting. You are in one of the most cutting edge technologies there is today. How do you really balance innovation with new risk taking ventures from an on ground perspective? And how do you get the management on board?
Oh, one thing I have to say, the management has been fairly supportive in everything that we've been doing. One big reason also is that it has to become a culture. You can't one day decide I need to have an innovation budget and let me start spending on it. It won't work because then you are becoming a cost center, a separate big cost center. But if for 20 years you start saying, okay, innovation is part of my DNA, right? I will continue to innovate, and that is a constant cost in my P&L.
Mhm.
Then you don't have to worry about is it a cost or not. You put it as one line item. From a risk point of view, my definition of risk is very different because I think everyone says an entrepreneur takes a big risk. Entrepreneur takes a big risk. Anyone who's trying to create new is taking a big risk. But look at it from the other side of it, from an entrepreneur point of view. They believe in something. We believe this is a problem that we are going to solve, and hence we should be doing it. So if you wear their lens, you'll say, no, it is not a risk. It's a step to become a big profitable business, right? You think about it, make sure that you are looking at all your angles when you're trying to jump into build a product. You cover that aspect of it well, keeping the customer at the center of it and solving a problem, then it's not a risk. Then just do the right things and you'll be okay.
Very interesting. You mentioned around the culture, and that actually gets me to something very interesting. Like, how do you build trust within the different teams? For example, you have a sales team, tech, as you mentioned, the innovation. So how do you get the teams to work in cohesion with each other?
Very difficult, by the way, huh? I have to agree and tell you that. See, the thing is, when I was young, not that I'm very old, but when I used to do it myself, life was very different. I knew what I want to do and I will do it. But when you get it delivered through a team, it becomes the biggest challenge. That's why I say people management is the toughest job, right? But you learn over a period of time that's there. What is very important is one is the transparency part of it. Everyone should know where we are heading,
Correct.
why we are doing a certain thing, what is the scale size of it, that is the opportunity that is possible, what each one can get out of it, what is the role that each one play, and how each one will succeed only if they work together. You can't get two people to become best of friends in an organization and say then only work will happen. Not really, right? What has to happen is define the work in a way that this is what I was supposed to do. By this time, I have done it. Now someone else will pick it up and take it. So this whole process helps. And a culture of communication, that just talk as much as possible, just share that this is where I'm stuck, or this is what I've done, or this is the help required. I think some of these things is what has worked for us over these years. And thankfully, we've built a culture where at any given point of time, you call, whether it's a holiday, you say that I need help in this, you'll get it without being a pressure from the management. And that's what the beauty is when you kind of follow a process like this.
Nice one. And slightly controversial question, but which one, according to you, would be more critical? Is it going to be the product, or would it be the sales, marketing, branding teams?
It's very, both has to work equally parallelly together. You can't say I can focus on the product and not focus on sales and marketing or branding. Or you can say, oh, I have a very shitty product, but can I just do sales and marketing? And
Correct.
It's not long term. See, the way I focus is I want to build businesses which can last for 100 years plus. I get into that only with that mindset that can I build something which can last for 100 years without me being around? And for that, you need to have a good product, good service engine, good support engine for it. And you need to have sales and marketing. I've seen enough and more product fail because they've not done good sales and marketing. People think that, okay, if I have just sales guys who will go and sell and I don't spend on brand building, that will work. It will work for a smaller set of people because that's what you can do. But there is a reason marketing exists. There is a reason why there's a whole push towards marketing. And we can learn from all these larger brands whom we worked with in so many years. You don't even need marketing because your brand is established, but they still continue to do marketing. Why? Because it's a core part of that puzzle which helps you to scale up and build a brand which can last for 100 years.
True. Some of the brands you work with, Cisco, AWS, Dell, Microsoft, Google, Aditya. And the reason I mentioned these is we've had guests from most of these companies. You were with Keystone for, I think, about 18 years.
Right.
And you've been part of a fascinating journey as well, where you helped grow them 20x. So how was that journey in scaling a MarTech for?
Oh, going back history. Okay, so when I joined Keystone, honestly, I joined because I just wanted to leave my previous job and get something. That's about it. And the interview that I was supposed to give at Keystone, that position got filled before I entered the interview room. So they said, see, this is done, this is left, do you want to pick it up? And I kind of, kuch bhi kar lenge. That's how it was, right? So that's how my journey in Keystone started. And then we were a much younger organization trying to figure out things. And in fact, I keep saying this to a few people that we were in that space where most of our business used to come from one organization. And I thank that organization that they didn't shut on us, because if that would have happened, we would not be talking today like this, right? Because the organization wouldn't have existed. But what we did well was we kept looking forward. The founder of Keystone had mentioned this to me once, and this is a quote from Marshall Goldsmith that what has got you here will not take you there. I thought that was so powerful, and that I'm talking about ages back. I suddenly feel old, but that is what it, and that's what we did well in Keystone. We started with one service, then we added something else which made sense because from a client point of view. Then we added something else which said, okay, this is going to further add to our service. Then finally, when digital happened, we added, and we got a lot of flank that time saying, why are you not focusing on one and becoming big in that space rather than trying to add other things to your kitty? The reason was we were focusing on what the customer is looking for, how's the market evolving, what is the next big thing that's going to happen, and we continue to move. That's why the innovation culture, the what next culture kind of helped us get to where we were, right, till pandemic happened. And honestly, from a pandemic point of view also, why it worked out for us was because we kept looking. So MarkTech also, from a technology point of view, because we had started working on building something in the technology space, in the marketing technology space, we had a team which was available. And when required, we kind of shifted gears and said, let's accelerate and get the first virtual events product out, right? And because of that culture, it helped. And I have to tell you this because this is a very recent quote that I learned from one of the course I was doing is whether you win the war or not will depend on how well you prepare yourself during peace. I was blown away with this. When I look back, that's what we did. We didn't react, or we didn't have to react to adversity because we were preparing ourselves in different ways when things were doing fine. And that's what we do today also. And that's how we've kind of got to this journey, because most of these clients that you mentioned, they've been our clients from the day one and they've not got a reason to move out. Imagine in today's time having a client which is 20-year-old, 15-year-old, in the competitive world. They would say, okay, there are so many new guys who are coming in, maybe with better ideas, better energy, and all that. They've continued to stick with us. Reason is because we've continued to evolve and solve the problem. And we didn't say that, no, we only do this and that's about it. We looked at what the need is and we continue to get our portfolio built accordingly. So it's not about what we do, but it's about the problem that we're solving. That's how we kind of managed to get to where we are today.
Exactly. It's a very key point you mentioned, right? So the post-sales or the customer experience, that is something which is one of the most overlooked points from a company. Most of them still think once we sold it, it's done. But especially in a recurring kind of a business and everything probably going virtual as well in the near future.
Right.
So how critical do you think that the customer experience is?
Core of it. You cannot do anything without customer experience. And the irony is that the multiple investor pitch that I have made, everyone will ask, what is your repeat customer percentage?
Right.
Imagine in a 15-minute conversation, this will come invariably, right? The ARR will come, MRR will come, but what is the percentage of people who are coming back and buying from you? That will come almost 100% of the time. And why would a customer come in? Not just because your product is very good. The customer will come in because along with the product, he or she is getting the support that is required to make him feel comfortable that I've got associated with the right brand. That's where it kind of makes a difference. Even before, like I mentioned, when you're creating a product, problem solving it, customer has to be the center of it. When you got the product out, your customer needs the handholding that this is a new product, this is how it works, this is how it's solving your problem. That becomes important. After they've bought your product, then how do you support them becomes important. So yes, you can't do business without focusing on customers.
Excellent. And you also, of course, have built lots of great high performing teams. What are the traits you look for while hiring, and how is it different for different stages in an organization?
So one is there is, for any stage I hire, and this is purely me, maybe I lack good recruitment skills, I'll put it that way. My interviews are very short, about 15, max 30 minutes conversation. And at any stage, what I'm looking for is hunger, passion, to some extent, creativity, out of the box thinking, right?
Right.
I believe the skill I can teach, how to do my business, I can teach. I cannot generate hunger and passion.
Correct.
Right? And that is true for any level. Only the scale differs. When we're hiring management trainees or interns, we look at what is the vision in their capacity that they have. Is the individual looking at from where he or she is, from a work point of view, overall growth of 10x, not individual growth, but from a numbers 10x, 50x, whatever the number can be. But how much is the hunger based on where the level is? When you look at someone at a senior level, then what is the global perspective one is bringing in?
Mhm.
So primarily that, rest everything I think can be taught, but this piece can't be. So in fact, you'll be surprised in the technology team, the Vosmos business that we have, the individual who's heading pre-solutions for us, then heading partnership for us, someone who's heading sales for us, and so on and so forth. They have not done this work in the past.
Wow.
So they're all learning as we go. But I can tell you won't get better people from a passion and hunger point of view.
Absolutely.
So that's how I do it. Some might say he's a crazy guy, but I'm okay to be on that side of it. But I believe in people, I trust in them, and these few things matter to me. I think the skill can be taught fairly easily.
Great. I think you're absolutely right. So it's that mindset that you don't have a problem if you fail. You'll try different things because you'll not come in with baggage. So why not try different things and then see how it goes?
Absolutely. Absolutely.
So my favorite question, if you could go back in time, what advice would you give the 20-year-old you?
I generally don't have regret in life. So I don't know whether I'll go back and give a 20-year-old me an advice, but a 20-year-old who's now, I keep, and I'm saying this because I practice this also. I tell not a 20-year, I start telling this for a 14, 15-year old boy or a girl also, is try your hand in entrepreneurship. Pick up a problem, create something, solve it, build a business out of it. I think it's a fabulous journey. And if I had to change anything, I would probably do that. I would have become an entrepreneur maybe when I was very, very young. And I keep saying that to all the younger generation that want to talk to me, or I kind of bump into them, that your regular career is one aspect of it. Try your hand as early as you can. You have a risk appetite. The energy is very different. The opportunity is huge. Try that. And that's what I would have done if things were to change.
Fantastic. Thank you so much, Piyush, for the amazing insights, not only on meta commerce, but on the whole of the leadership and startups as well. It was an absolute pleasure hosting you on the show, and all the best for the future as well. And again, a very big thank you.
Thank you. Thank you to you. I think somehow you got the best from a point of view, the way you kind of put the questions forward. So I enjoyed reliving some of those moments, which in a regular life you kind of miss. So thank you for that.